So today I've got a very, very special guest, Anna Guest Jelley, who is the founder of Curvy Yoga, as well as the co-founder of teachasana.com. And I'm so excited to have Anna on this series of interviews because as I've gotten to know Anna and have watched her journey unfold, especially over the last probably 9 months, it's been really, really exciting to see her leave a full-time career to take on her passion and her dream and make it a reality. So Anna, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. I'm so excited to be here.
So I love your entire brand, Curvy Yoga. It's definitely one of those niche areas that speaks to so many people, and you have such a powerful community behind what you're up to. There's so much we could talk about with this, but what I'd really love for you to share a little bit about today is how did you go from Curvy Yoga just being this personal outlet where you were sharing your own yoga story to now you were able to leave your career, which I know is a huge leap. You were able to leave your career to make Curvy Yoga really your full-time job and make it your full-time passion.
I'm glad you started with that, kind of coming from my personal interest and need and developing in that, because I think that has really been the key to Curvy Yoga, is that it was something that I developed sort of for my personal practice and for some friends, just to start off really small. And then I just kind of continued to listen to people's needs. So I just heard more and more and more how almost no teachers are receiving any kind of training at all on how to serve curvy students in their 200-hour training, and oftentimes not even in their 500-hour training. So I heard that more and more, and I heard more people who had, unfortunately, pretty bad experiences going into yoga classes all around the country where they weren't made to feel welcome, or the teacher didn't really know how to help them practice for their body. And so as those needs emerged, I just realized I can continue to just sort of meet the needs as they come. And as that happened, everything kind of unfolded really organically. And so nothing was forced. I didn't roll out anything without kind of knowing that the community already wanted it in some way. And so I think that really helped to make Curvy Yoga successful and sustainable, because I stay in touch with my community. They give me feedback on what they like, what they don't like, what they're looking for, and that allows me to meet those needs in a fluid way, because where I am now was not where I was expecting to be when I started a few years ago, when I had no plan at all.
Yeah. So that's a really huge takeaway, because I think a lot of people think that starting something means that you just have to kind of create it in this, separate little incubator, like no outside communication. And I actually find that the community leaders, the entrepreneurs who involve their community in the creation process and who are open to always being, refining and changing according to the needs of their community, they're the ones that thrive even more, because their community really feels like they were a part of its creation.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a win-win, because the community and the students are getting what they're asking and looking for, and you are getting something that you at least have some sense is going to be successful. Because I know I also have been in that kind of incubator phase of, I wonder if people are going to like this, what should I do? And inevitably those things can go okay. I'm definitely not going to say those things are going to fail, but it's never exactly quite right. It has to be tweaked and kind of looked at. And, when people are saying, I want to get certified to bring Curvy Yoga to my town, that's what made me start offering that, is so many people started asking that I was just like, okay, this is a need. I didn't think I was quite to that point in my thinking, and the community kind of encouraged me along to make that happen.
That's incredible. So definitely listening to your community is a huge piece of that. And I'd like for you, before we dive into what's happened in this kind of great blossoming of Curvy Yoga right now, in the last, you said since August, you left your job. Yeah. Which was a huge leap of faith. And I know so many watching this are probably sitting on the fence where they were like, if I could really know that this could happen, that it could take off, maybe I would leave my job and I would pursue this. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about, how you got to the point, the journey up to where you were able to leave your job, and then kind of fast forward to where we are now with Curvy Yoga?
Yeah, so when I started Curvy Yoga a couple years ago, I was working full time and I thought it would just kind of be a thing I did on the side. And then over time, I saw how much interest there was, kind of like I was just talking about, and also how much I really loved doing it, how much it fed my creativity, made me feel fulfilled. And so I said, I want to leave my job and do this full time. But for me, and I think this is the case for many, if not most people, I couldn't just up and leave my job 2 days later. I needed to have a financial safety net in place and have a plan. So I really used that time where I had that full-time salary to build up Curvy Yoga as much as I could. So I used some of my salary to, pay to have my website designed more professionally. And when I just had a little bit more income, I put more money into my business to just get it ready to go. And then I also spent as much of my free time as was reasonable. I still needed to have time to rest and hang out with my family.
Yeah.
But to really get it to that point of, okay, here's where I think I can take this leap of faith, like you said. And I did a lot of logistical things, like looking at how much money do I really need to pay my bills and not feel like I'm going to end up on the street, and like, how can I find ways to start to get that income and build it up now? So I started teaching a couple more classes. I started to put the word out and develop more privates. I did a little bit more stuff online. So I was already increasing my income base before I even left my job. So I didn't need that money at that time, but I wanted to make sure that I was continuing to grow that base so that when I left, if that was what I had, I could still put food on the table.
So it's a nice overlapping of just kind of ramping up Curvy Yoga, knowing that at some point you were going to flip the switch and take that jump, and you were going to have to keep growing your income for that.
Yeah, it's like where faith and logistics meet.
Yeah. And they do have to meet at some point, because I know a lot of people who have been trying to build up something on the side, and now they know that they want to do it, but they're kind of waiting, like, when am I really ready? How much do I need? So for you, was it some sort of goal as far as, I need to have replaced this much of my income before I think I can do it? Or what was the thing that you just knew, okay, I can do this?
Yeah, it was definitely financial. And also for me, I set a date. So I said, I would like to leave by the summer of 2011. So I was working at a university, so, we're all in the semester system. So the summer is a little less hectic. So I felt like that would be a good time for the other job for me to leave. But I wasn't like, it has to be July 10th. Like I just kind of kept it a little bit open. And I was open in my mind to it taking a little bit longer if it needed to. So I wasn't going to leave that summer if I saw, oh, I don't have the income base that I need. But it really gave me that impetus to like make it happen.
Awesome. That's really, really helpful, I think, for a lot of people to set up that kind of time frame, but at the same time be gentle with yourself and know that if things need to be fluid, because life is life and sometimes things happen or situations change, it's okay to be flexible with it.
Yeah, and I should say I set that goal the previous summer, so I gave myself a year to make that transition.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay. So, and some of the things I've seen you do through Curvy Yoga in the last year have just been really, really inspirational, I think. So not only have you established Curvy Yoga as really a voice in the yoga community through your blog, but you've also been picked up and featured on a lot of other yoga blogs and even other published sites. And then you've started creating some really interesting new offerings. And I remember seeing back, I don't remember exactly when it was, maybe in the fall, the 30 Days of Curvy Yoga that was a partnership that you launched.
Yeah, partnership can be such an interesting way to go. So my partner in that course is Marianne Elliott, who some people know. Her website is Zen Peacekeeper. And so she does this interesting juxtaposition of human rights work and yoga. And through that, she really came to value kind of the self-care and self-kindness of yoga. So she was teaching those classes for a while. She has several different variations, and she had students asking her for curvy modifications, and she didn't know what to do. So she and I had met online and just chatted, and she'd said, I'd really love to do something together. And I was like, sounds great, And so we partnered to put that class together. And again, that was a need from her community, and it was also a need from my community who wanted more online video options and were interested in developing a home practice. So it was a nice dovetail of what we could both bring to the table.
And that's a great way to leverage, communities, because like you're not on your own creating this whole new course. She's done these types of courses. She had the expertise of like how to actually put it together. You had the expertise of the yoga, and here you guys could really come together and make it happen. And I think that's really valuable for anyone who's serving a specific need. Like you serve curvy yogis, anyone who's serving a very specific demographic or a very specific injury or a very specific type of athlete, whatever that might be. If you can partner with somebody who's kind of already laid the groundwork, it seems like it takes a little bit of the pressure off for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think people can be really strategic about those partnerships. So Marianne had all of the technical stuff in place, which was really helpful. And the other benefit is that we both had listservs and Facebook page, all those things to send out the word, so that it's not just you sending to your community, but she sends to hers. And we get a good, even kind of mix of people signing up who heard about it from her and who heard about it from me. So it's a nice way also to just expand the people who can hear about your offering.
And I think that's really crucial too, is to remember that even though you're the leader of your community, there are other communities with other leaders, and if you want to really grow your community, you have to be partnering with them and communicating with their communities. So this is a perfect example of doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. And then since then, I know you have also rolled out your certification, which when you posted this the first time, I was so excited because I was like, this is so innovative, the way that you're rolling out your certification. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you decided to do your certification in this way that you're doing it. And I'll, chime in because I'm very excited about the way that you're handling it. I think it's really, really innovative and smart.
Thank you. Well, so I know I keep harping on the community thing, but like I said, a lot of people were starting to ask me to travel, to come around and teach workshops, and of course, I was excited about that. Lots of yoga teachers are interested in that opportunity. But I felt like for me, curvy yoga was such a personal experience. It's such a, intersection between your personal experience with accepting your body and teaching yoga, that I wanted to be able to support teachers in that process in a kind of more intimate way than I felt like I could in a group of 35 people. I also wanted to not saturate any local markets with curvy yoga. So I felt like, if I go to Boston and I train 30 people, then that's 30 people who are trying to start something that's brand new to that town. And so I felt like, okay, if I just have, maybe 2 people in a town as big as Boston, or 1 person in a really much smaller town, then those people can really be successful in starting curvy yoga. Because in most places, it's something that the community hasn't seen before. Which means that it can be really successful, and also means it might take a little bit of time just to get people used to what the concept is. So I really thought about, what would kind of best honor the way that I work. So I think I work really well with people, supporting them one-on-one and kind of in small groups, excuse me, and also what would best meet the teacher's needs in those different ways I just talked about. And so what I came up with was a one-on-one option. So I have a model where I work with people for 3 months, and we talk on phone or on Skype every other week. And I sort of have a curriculum I've developed, and we move through the material, kind of starting with the philosophy, going into asana and sequencing, and then kind of wrapping up with marketing. So they have the full support, and what's nice is, I have the curriculum, but I also can really tweak it based on their needs. So some people are wanting to teach in studios, some people want to teach in community centers, some people want to focus on private sessions. So I can really adapt all of that based on what they're looking for. And then again, based on the needs that I saw, I heard that there were people who really wanted to start kind of a career doing this. And I realized that they needed more support. And so I developed a 6-month model for those people. And it's very kind of like a mix between business coaching and personal coaching and the curvy yoga certification. So we're really saying, okay, if you're wanting to open a studio, for example, and focus on accessible yoga specifically for people with curvy bodies, how are you actually going to make that happen? And really going through that in a personalized way. So far it's going great. I have
love
about
that.
20 people in process right now. The first couple people are
And
going to
you just launched this.
Yeah,
In
at
the
the
last
end of
like 3
January.
months. I loved it. I remember I just saw like a Facebook post or something and I responded back. I was like, this is brilliant. I loved it. I loved it. And what I see as someone who helps people with the business strategy side is so many know that a huge revenue stream for teachers and for studios is in the certifications, it is in the training.
Yeah.
But we are also seeing a huge outpouring of people graduating trainings, of local, especially small markets, just getting flooded with new teachers. And I thought this was such a great way for you to control your brand, make sure that it has integrity and what you want the Curvy Yoga name to stand for with each individual person, and also probably will help you make sure that the people graduating your program are really ready to teach in the way that you're teaching them. It's not just like, here's your certification.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then I'm also looping them into things like a private Facebook group and that kind of thing so that they can learn from each other. Because one of the things is that there are so few resources for Curvy Yoga students or teachers that being able to talk to each other and say, hey, this person came to class and I wasn't sure what to do, I think will be a really valuable thing to have available.
Hugely valuable, hugely valuable. So I'm so excited that you are kind of one of these pioneers in launching these one-on-one certifications. I think it's going to be a really smart way for people who have a lot of specific information to share and they want to establish themselves as a real leader in the field instead of a certification mill, for lack of a better word for it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I feel like what I've seen so far through the process, so I have a couple people who are going to graduate in a week or two, so I'm sort of through the first group of people, which is really exciting, is just how fully supported they are through that one-on-one process. Because I'm sure you know, and the people watching know, you go to a weekend workshop, you get great information, but you're in a big group, you've spent 10 hours as the group, and then at the end you're like, okay, like now what am I going to do? How am I going to get this started? And so my hope is that the people who are finishing this certification, number one, don't feel that way, and number two, are still really looped in with me and the other teachers, that they can get the support they need later if they need extra support.
I love it. And so many great takeaways there for anyone who's looking at creating some sort of certification process. And I also love that it's not like a 200 hour or 500 hour. It's like you expect that they're coming to you with their foundation in place and you're really just custom tailoring this other level for them, which adds so much value, and it's such a great positioning for you. You're not spending, a year with somebody on this really in-depth material. Instead, you're able to pace it the way that it fits into your lifestyle. I love it. So smart.
Thank you.
So smart. I love it. And then you recently also launched your first book, Curvy Voices.
Yeah, I am so excited and proud of this book. So this is something that, again, I wanted to make available because there are so few resources out there saying yoga can be a really great tool for learning to become aware of your body, accept your body, and come into a warmer relationship with it. And I knew from what I hear, so I get a lot of emails from people telling me their story, but those stories are kind of between me and that person, and they're not being shared more broadly, of course. Like, I'm going to respect their privacy, but I knew that people could benefit from hearing a wide variety of experiences. So I came up with this idea to edit an ebook called Curvy Voices that would share those stories. So I invited some people to write for it, and then I also opened up a call for anybody who wanted to send in their story. And I really didn't know how much I would get or what it would be like. Of course I gave some guidelines, but I ended up with 36 pieces, which was a great amount because none of them are very long. And they all share that common theme of yoga and body acceptance, but it's through so many different experiences. Everything from struggles with body image to breast cancer to losing a parent to just life, all the different ways that we come to that, and how yoga was a thread that brought them through whatever that experience was. So I made that available for free on my site. I really wanted people just to be able to read it and share it. I did make it where you had to sign up for my list in order to get it, so that was a nice way that I was able to grow my list. Of course, when people sign up for those things, some people drop off, but still I'll probably retain a lot more than I could have gotten without doing it that way. And I've gotten really good feedback on it. People are really excited to hear those stories.
It's such a beautiful book. I remember getting that email and I instantly went and downloaded it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so gorgeous. Like, it's definitely one that anybody who's come to yoga in that way and yoga helped them with their own self-acceptance, it's a must read for everybody. So make sure you go get it, guys.
Yep.
Awesome. So as you keep moving forward with Curvy Yoga, I mean, you're not even at the year mark for this being, your full-time gig, and it's still blooming so beautifully for you. Do you see anything already popping up for the future, or are you just going to let things continue to kind of unfold organically listening to your community?
I think it's a little of both. So kind of the next phase that I see in the certification process is an online offering for people who want to just make their current classes curvy accessible. So I know there are lots of teachers who would like to be able to just accommodate curvy students who come into their class, but they haven't learned that before, but who don't want to teach a class that's called Curvy Yoga per se. So I'm going to offer that in the fall and see how that is received. I think it's something, again, people have kind of been saying, like, I don't really know what to do when curvy students come into my class, but I don't want them to feel like they're having a middle school gym class experience and they've been isolated on the side in child's pose for 20 minutes, So I think that's kind of my next step. And then I'm just going to see, continue to see how these people do who are going through the program and graduating and see what happens next. And I'm going to keep writing my blog, doing guest blogs, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, you are definitely one of my favorite people to follow in the yoga community, and I highly recommend everybody going over to curvyyoga.com. Check out Curvy Voices. It's so beautifully done. So beautifully done. I've got to get in touch with your graphic designer because she did a beautiful job.
She's amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazingly done. And thank you so much, Anna. This was so juicy, and I know for anyone who's kind of been sitting on that fence of, could I make this happen? Could I really take this leap? It's so inspirational to hear how you've continued to put things out into the world and see them all kind of continue to blossom.
Thank you. Well, the feeling's totally mutual. I love and appreciate everything that you're doing for the yoga community and really helping people rise up into who they are and what they can offer. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Until next time, namaste. Ready to be inspired in your biz? Conscious Business Design is coming soon. For more info and free training, go to consciousbusinessdesign.com.